Hey, my name is Stacey Axler. I am a stand-up comedian based in Washington, D.C. I've been doing stand-up for about 3 or 4 years now, and this is a behind-the-scene look at some of my jokes.
Who watches videos on YouTube? Oh my God, this is a totally different reaction than the last question. Everyone's like, me, I do too. You know, it's weird when YouTube recommends things for you, because sometimes YouTube is like, spot on. And the other times you're like, why am I being recommended this? This doesn't make sense. This is basically what happened to me about 2 weeks ago. YouTube recommended this video of how to apply foundation. And I don't wear makeup, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hear what this woman has to say, because this is a skill that I think you should know. And I think that's why YouTube recommended it to me. They're like, you should know this. So, all right, good. I clicked on the video, and the woman in the video was showing you how to apply foundation, but she wasn't doing it on her own face. She was using a potato. So she was applying the foundation to the potato, and then she applied lipstick on the potato. She was showing you how to do these different like contouring things with all these different types of makeup. I don't ever wear makeup. I had to wear it when I used to do musical theater, which is another story, but I haven't worn it since then, and it's been years. And then, so I was watching this video, and I started feeling really like down and out about it, because I have low self-esteem. And I'm like, I would never stand in front of a group of people that are mostly strangers and say that I'm uglier than a potato. But am I uglier than a potato with makeup on? I don't know. And I wouldn't ever ask you to rate me against a potato with makeup on. But if I were to do that right now, what do y'all think?
There's this particular day in, I think it was late January, when sometimes you get those random ads on YouTube where you are watching a video and an ad comes up, and it was this one advertisement of this woman putting foundation on a potato, and it was one of those things where if you clicked on the ad, it would bring you to a longer video of this makeup tutorial. And I don't wear makeup, but there was something so odd about putting makeup on a potato. But then she explained it, and she was like, the potato skin is actually a really good texture to mimic human skin. And I was like, well, that's kind of creepy, but it also makes, I guess, logical sense. Like, again, I'm kind of going into this totally not knowing anything about makeup or the best way to apply it. So I was like, that logic seems to check out. So I clicked on the video mostly to see what would happen to this potato. But then also I was thinking, maybe this is a good skill to have. I'm at that time, I think I think I just turned 28, and I'm still 28. So I was like, part of me kind of was a little ashamed. I was like, I should know how to do this. Like, I should take better care of myself. So a lot of factors were kind of running through my mind when I was watching this video. But as soon as it ended, I said to myself, like, I need to write this down because it's so absurd. In mid-February, I went with several friends to this open mic at this bar in DC called Shenanigans. And this was about 2 weeks after writing the potato joke. So it was one of those things where, in my mind, and I think I would imagine other comedians, stand-ups feel this way, but I was going to test this joke out at the open mic. I was like, this is the point of the open mic. I need to test this joke out. And it was one of those situations where I showed up there on 7:30, and I ended up performing around 10:30, so at that point in a way, it helped me clear my inhibitions, because at that point I was like, it's really late, and the audience seems very like both supportive and collaborative. Like, I was like, I'm just gonna try it out, and it just ended up really clicking. Like, the joke just seemed to work in a way where I think other stand-ups would echo this, but sometimes you just know automatically when you say something, you're like, that joke, this will never work. Like, that will not work. But it was the opposite effect. Like, I said the joke and the audience seemed to really find it peculiar in a good way, which is kind of what I was going for. And I said to myself, if this works, I should try it out at a different show. So I kind of give jokes a 3-joke try, where if I try it and it works out once, I kind of want to try it out 2 more times. Similar also if it fails. Like, I want to try it out 2 more times to see, is this just a fluke, or really what is this joke? And when I sent you the video of the, of me saying that joke at Capitol Cider House, at that point, that was the 4th or 5th time that I had done it. And at that point, it always just seemed to work. And I was just so pleased about it because I don't know, it's just, I think everyone likes it for the same reason that I like it, which is it's so weird. It's just so random. And I think it also plays on how, I think for me in particular, I like comedians who can be a little self-deprecating. And I feel like I'm a self-deprecating person. And I think it plays upon the idea of, I think everyone is a little self-conscious. Even the most confident person I think you meet has to take steps to get to that level of confidence. So I think it's combining a lot of different relatable things while also in this kind of amalgamation of this very strange situation that I found myself in when I was watching this video. And it's definitely one of my favorite jokes that I've written thus far. So that's kind of why I keep on coming back to it and returning to it, I think. When I first started doing stand-up, I would write jokes and I would semi-plan out what I was going to do before stand-up shows, but I would also leave a little bit up to chance because I think in the back of my head, I said, I can improvise my way out of this if necessary. But I feel like in recent years, like in the past 2 years, I've really tried to make a concerted effort to not do that and to write out my bits and to record my sets and to watch them after. And I hate listening to myself on recording. I think everyone does. Like, I do not like the sound of my voice. And I also have been told by random strangers that my voice is bizarre. But so I think that there's multiple factors into it, but I also think that many people don't like the sound of their own voice. But, I wanted to do all of that because I think there's truly no way to know if your jokes work than if you go back and look at an actual video that was taken at the moment of what you're doing, because I have had, even the last show that I did in person prior to COVID hitting, the US really, really heavily was on March 7th. And I did a set that when I walked off the stage, people asked, they said, how was your set? And I said, it was the worst set I've ever done. I was very frustrated. But I had recorded it. And then when I watched the recording after the next day, I was like, oh, that actually wasn't so bad. Like, there's some salvageable things. Like, it definitely was not the best set I've ever done, but it wasn't a horrible mess of the set that I thought it was. So I do think that the way I approach writing and like polishing the material has changed tremendously. I do think I've spent more time on stand-up in the past 2 years, whereas prior to that, I think I was more of an improv person who did stand-up occasionally. And I think it's kind of, not that it's switched per se, but I definitely feel like I'm taking stand-up more seriously and doing more stand-up and really trying to focus in on it. And I think in terms of my jokes and the content that I do, I think it's changed in a sense, because I feel like when I first started doing this, a lot of my sets were very rooted in storytelling. And And I think that makes sense also coming from the improv background, because I think a lot of improvisers are good storytellers and also use storytelling in their improv formats quite often. And I think in terms of my content, I still incorporate a lot of storytelling elements into it. And I sometimes will try to weave like a thread of a story throughout the set, so at least I have something to keep going back to. But I think I've just tried to make my jokes kind of faster and snappier, and just trying to include some different stylized content in there.